Hello, America. A lot to do today. I have never, ever called for an opposing voice to be silenced, not even Osama bin Laden. I believe it is better to have debates in the light of day. At least people can make an informed decision, and by challenging people, it makes people stronger. We can disagree, but it doesn't seem so anymore in America. Have the debate, others cower. Right now, Soros and his billions of dollars are mounting what they describe as a guerrilla war and sabotage on all of Fox News. That's a quote. And of course, this program. I guess we're quoting them again, dangerous. Well, let me ask you, who is more dangerous to a free republic? The one that supports open debate or the one that disguises himself, calls it an open society while trying to silence all debate? Of course, George Soros doesn't want my voice on the air. Of course, he wants you to sit down as well. Of course, he turns down our invite to be on the show, claiming that he would just be made to look like a foolish old man by me, which couldn't be further than the truth. The only thing that would make George Soros look foolish is his ideas spoken clearly out in the open. Ideas that are wildly out of step with the American people, and I do believe becoming dangerous, which is why he has to keep them in disguise. He has put together one serious operation. It's a serious operation that is on the wrong side of history. For example, do you know about the Soros-funded International Crisis Group? Look up the International Crisis Group. It is, it's quite amazing. And it seems to be right in the center of almost everything that is happening overseas, especially in Libya now and Egypt. The International Crisis Group has consistently worked to support the groups in the Middle East who want to establish an Islamic government, including the Muslim Brotherhood and even Al-Qaeda. There is a report that came out in June 2008. It's this one. It's entitled, Egypt's Muslim Brotherhood, Confrontation or Integration. Guess what they decided would be best? It was put out by his group, the International Crisis Group, who I believe he sits on the board, and so did El Baradei for a while. Well, he resigned as soon as he got that call. The report calls on Egypt's government and calls the crackdown of Egypt's government back then, the crackdown on the Muslim Brotherhood, as, quote, dangerously short-sighted, adding the regime should take preliminary steps to normalize the Muslim Brotherhood's participation in political life. Oh, had Mubarak only listened. Had he only listened. Now, while Soros's group advocates for these radical groups, he then singles out Israel, calling them, I'm quoting, the main stumbling block to the transformation of the Middle East. He added in this report, in reality, Israel has much to gain from the spread of democracy in the Middle East, as the United States has, but Israel is unlikely to recognize its own best interest because the change is too sudden and carries too many risks. Isn't it good to have a grandpa or a great-great-great-grandpa that will just take us all by the hand and just fix all our problems because we're just too dumb or young to understand? Remember, George Soros says Israel is the main problem in the Middle East transformation. It's too scary for them. George Soros is also the guy that believes that this, quoting him, the main obstacle to a stable and just world order is the United States. Whoa. So let's see if we have this right. Israel and the U.S. is an obstacle to what he or his groups believe should happen. Huh. You know who else thinks that? Osama bin Laden. Oh, I know. How about like Iran? Wait, we didn't stand up for the people of Iran. That's a weird coincidence. It's almost like Iran. Remember, they say we're the great Satan and Israel is the little Satan. They're just using Satan while he's using obstacles. See? Now, what about Iran? Well, Iran, they're a little different. They're spookier than even Spooky Dude. They want to wipe Israel off the map. And they just produced a video saying that the Islamic Messiah is on his way soon. Good, the Messiah is coming? No. It's like it's opposite day reading the book of Revelation. Got it? How about the Muslim Brotherhood? The leaders who are openly talking about starting a war with Israel. I thought that they should be brought into the political fold. I want to pretend here for just a moment that the news is just a bunch of completely spontaneous, unrelated events. No one is orchestrating anything. And that George Soros wants all the countries of the world to have a Jeffersonian constitution. And that there's nobody on the planet that believes in the 12th Imam or the Mahdi that's going to behead all the unbelievers planet-wide. Or that the administration, let's pretend the administration hearts Israel, okay? And every child in every high school is as talented as all of the kids at that high school on Glee. Now, with that in mind, let's look at the direction in the Middle East. Do you think it's headed towards the peaceful conclusion? To a happier world? Do you think it's going to end well, or not so much? Are things happening that are beneficial to the survival of Israel, or not so much? Is there any leader in the world standing up for Israel, or not so much? Yeah, Bob, I'd have to go for not so much. Israel is under attack. And let me show you just a couple of things. Okay, first of all, we have George Soros's powerful group and his players in the White House saying that they're obstacles, and also his players in the White House are pushing the Responsibility to Protect Act. But let's look here. Obama says that just last September that we want a Palestinian state, that it was possible within a year. Listen to this exactly.
When we come back here next year, we can have an agreement that will lead to a new member of the United Nations, an independent, sovereign state of Palestine.
When they meet a year from that speech, so a year from that speech would be September and 2011. Now, today we learned from an Israeli paper that an unnamed European diplomat has told them, quote, international recognition of Palestinian statehood appeared to be unavoidable in September. Okay, so September of 2011. Hamas is calling on the Arab League to stop Israel from exploiting regional instability to carry out massacres against Palestinians. Wait a minute. That one goes under the Responsibility to Protect, which is this new George Soros, Cass Sunstein wife kind of thing. We'll get into that later. Okay, got it. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas says he's willing to give up millions in U.S. aid in order to get just a unity deal with Hamas. Great, great, okay. So they're willing to negotiate. Reports this week also say that Abbas ordered lawmakers to complete a draft legislation for a future state. So in other words, draft up the legislation so we can have an independent state within 6 months. Within 6 months, that would be, oh yeah, that would be the 9th month of this year. So let's go what else we know here. The UN is considering to recognize the Palestinians as an independent state. Yeah, we got that one too. We got this, we got this, we got this. All righty. Norwegian Socialist Party? Yeah. They're calling for action now against Israel. Military action. They're going to use the Responsibility to Protect, I think. Muslim Brotherhood is now poised to grab power in Egypt and Libya. Yeah, that's going to be great. They say that they're just ready to declare war against Israel. Oh, and one more thing that I'm sure it's not a problem. Remember the president said last night that I'm ready to turn this over to NATO. That's what we're going to do because we've done our job. It's weird because just this morning, I wonder if something happened overnight. The U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, wait for it, said, wait a minute, we're not going to turn it over to the NATO forces yet because we haven't decided if we're going to, haven't decided yet. I have no idea. Arm the rebels. Don't know. Might not. That brings us to the Responsibility to Protect doctrine. This states that states have the right to protect the population, in fact, the responsibility to protect the populations from genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and ethnic cleansing. This is apparently what was happening in Libya. That's what we use, justification to wage kinetic military action against a country that, as Defense Secretary Gates said, was not a vital interest to the United States. But we had a responsibility to protect. And that was an idea spawned by none other than Samantha Power. She's a White House aide and the wife of the most dangerous man in America, Cass Sunstein. I'm thinking about calling them the most dangerous couple of the year, because she's now out in the press bragging that it was Obama who triggered the Libya uprising. What? Excuse me. I'm sorry. Power, before being in the White House, explicitly stated how she would deal with Israel. Here she is.
What we need is a willingness to actually put something on the line in service of helping the situation. And putting something on the line might mean alienating a domestic constituency of tremendous political and financial import. It may more crucially mean sacrificing or investing, I think more than sacrificing, literally billions of dollars not in servicing Israelis military, but actually investing in the new state of Palestine, in investing billions of dollars it would probably take also to support, I think, what will have to be a mammoth protection force. Any intervention is going to come under fierce criticism, but we have to think about lesser evils, especially when the human stakes are just becoming ever more pronounced.
Too high. That bad Israel. The responsibility to protect doctrine. It worked in Libya, and they're going to try it again against Israel because the stakes are just too high. Back in 2009, they've already, they tried this back in 2009. No, it didn't go well for them. No. You know who tried this? UN official Robert Falk said Israel was guilty of war crimes, not self-defense, after they attacked Gaza. In the letter that he wrote, and from an interview from the Institute for Policy Studies. Institute for Policy Studies. That is another George Soros group. Wow, it's the same one that came up with another report begging Obama to rule by executive order. It was great. When they asked the slightly leading question about the killing of 1,300 Palestinians, mostly women and children, and if it could have been stopped by the UN, the answer was a strong General Assembly resolution would have set the stage for follow-up enforceable resolutions, possibly including mechanisms for holding Israeli officials accountable, and an arms embargo, or even deploying a ceasefire enforcement or protection force, perhaps based on the Assembly's own embrace of the doctrine known as the responsibility to protect. You know what, a couple of years ago we could laugh this stuff off because these are just some kooky progressives that we didn't think anybody listened to, but they're the ones calling the shots, and boy, they have been busy while we were asleep. It's pretty obvious, if you want to look at the facts, where the next shot is heading. I've asked this on the show a few times lately. Where's Churchill? Where's Reagan? Where's Lincoln? Where's Washington? Where's anybody? We got Soros. Got him. We got the president. We seem to have socialists everywhere. Brazil, everywhere. Where's the person standing up for freedom? Where's the person on the national stage standing up for Israel? Do you see him? I mean, really standing up. You got Benjamin Netanyahu, but that's pretty obvious. Tonight, I'd like to add my small little voice and make a declaration as clear as humanly possible that I know what time it is. I've done my homework. I'm also a spiritual guy. God's not going to hold us unaccountable for what we do or do not do, for what we say or do not say. We must stand and be clear. I stand with Israel, and where is anyone else? Now, that doesn't mean you blindly support everything you do, but I stand with them. Now, I know the blogs, especially the Soros blogs, who are hiring more and more interns every day. They're creating jobs. They're going to call me a fraud or a crazy man or an anti-Semitic Jew lover. I don't even know how that one's even possible, but they've tried it. But I will stand. I don't know how long it's going to take for the world to right itself, but I at least know where right is, and that is where I will stand. Each of us have to ask ourselves, do you stand with the people in this dogfight over in the Middle East? Do you stand with the people that are the most like Americans? They make mistakes. They do. We do too. We suck sometimes as a country. Most times we don't. But we're at least trying to do the right thing, and so is Israel. Or do you stand with those who are teaching to hide, blackmail, rewrite history? People who are trying to destabilize and create fear. I mean, if that's where you are, what's the difference between you and a terrorist? I would rather stand with the surviving members of the Fogel family. I would rather teach my children the lessons of that brutal murder that were taught by the surviving members. I'd much rather teach my children about this family and these lessons than the lessons of those who hand out cake in celebration of those who killed that family. Name the country in the Middle East that has the values, generally speaking, that we have. I can only name one. Why are we standing with all those who are against Israel? They've tolerated more provocations than probably any other country in history. And despite having enough arsenal of nukes to obliterate their enemies, believe me, they can take care of themselves. How many have they lobbed? Answer, 0. While everyone complains about all the evils that Israel has done to the Arabs and then picks apart each tiny imperfection with their democracy, by the way, a republic is ugly. Tens of millions of Arabs, tens of millions, have suffered atrocities at the hands of their own countries. Gays are still tortured today and killed. Bloggers jailed without cause, women humiliated, raped, and murdered, dissidents killed, protesters shot, terrorists born, suicide bombers given by their mothers. But Israel is the evil one? That's the obstacle to peace? Let me ask you this. How many homosexuals have been stoned to death by the Israelis? How many adulterers have been buried up to their neck in sand and stoned to death in Israel? How many bloggers have been jailed without cause? How many terrorists are wearing a yarmulke? But now, the world is being led to the water. That Israel is the evil one, and it's about to drink. Don't drink that water. They have measurably, no, it's the Middle East. They have immeasurably more freedom than any other Middle Eastern nation. Women are free to drive. Women and our daughters can walk alone in the streets without being stoned or jailed. You can bring a Bible or a Quran into Israel. When a woman can't walk down the street alone and be safe, and not because she's in a dangerous neighborhood, but because she walked alone without a man, how do you possibly stand with that country? How do you possibly stand with that? With a group of people that say, I'm going to kill you if you don't go to my faith. A country that treats women or people who are at all different like a dog. Treats a woman as a piece of furniture or a sexual toy that can be raped, and the courts will allow it. How is it that a country like ours actually listens to those evil people saying this is evil, and we believe it? How many Israelis have taken someone off the streets and then beheaded them on videotape just for political reasons? Our administration is siding with the wrong side. They are standing against good and encouraging evil in the Middle East. We are reprimanding the nation that is as flawed as we are and protecting the aggressors. We're protecting the killers and the terrorists. We have gone from a nation who was doing the wrong thing by siding with Mubarak to a nation who is doing an even greater evil by arming Al-Qaeda and the Muslim Brotherhood, which empowers Iran and also, in the end, destroys Israel. It is not difficult to tell good apart from evil. Let's start with some simple ideas. Voting rights. Generally speaking, which is better? Voting rights of Iran, Muslim Brotherhood, those who ran Al-Qaeda? How about free speech? Rights of women, rights of homosexuals. America and Israel? Or the people we seem to be siding with? I stand tonight with Israel. You watched the president's speech last night? I mean, if there's no I in team, someone forgot to tell the president that. Just watch.
I want to begin. I made it clear, and I said that I ordered warships. I refused to let that happen. I authorized, I know that some Americans, I will never minimize the costs. I am convinced, along with many other world leaders, I have no greater responsibility than keeping this country safe.
He said 25 times, which is about once per minute. We didn't count the me's or the my's. But Congress, let me tell you something. You remember when you were, I warned you you're going to become irrelevant? Congratulations. Who's irrelevant? You are. Yes. Now, great guy, huh? President, pundits lauding the president for taking charge. But I thought the reason we sat back and let France and England take the lead on Libya is because we didn't want to be seen as starting a third military engagement with a Muslim nation. So I was watching, I'm trying to think, why is the president saying me, my, I all the time? He's like a pull string doll. I. It was weird because we didn't want that. Then I got up this morning and I saw this. Polls show that Americans like the president to be in charge. Not going to show it. Well, look at the big G. Why I tell you, the polls show that the president like him to be in charge. So he's just following that. Really? I'm confused because this is the same guy who completely ignored about 60% of Americans when they said they were against health care. And he was saying, I think it's important. Remember that? Now he suddenly cares what people think. Doesn't add up. May I have a different theory on what's happening? Remember the boards I showed you at the beginning of the hour? Yeah. Those things something's wrong there, right? Is it possible that what you're seeing is almost like a made-for-TV movie? I mean, it's made for people in the Middle East. This isn't for you. This part's not for you. No. Do you remember in the first the program of the year, we showed you how the administration was surrounding themselves with 1960s radicals? Same ones that called our troops baby killers back in Vietnam. Isn't it weird that those guys are still running the show? You got Bernadine Dohrn and Bill Ayers. You got the Code Pink people. I hate them, but yet they're still involved. In fact, Bill Ayers here, love this guy. He's over in Beirut giving speeches right now. It's weird. We'll show you that tomorrow. This guy hated the troops so much that he and his group actually made bombs that they were going to set off at Fort Dix at a dance where troops would be attending. Thankfully, they didn't harm any soldiers, but the bomb did explode, killing a few of those guys. Oh. Of course, now they're smart enough. They know. What is it Van Jones says? Drop the radical pose for the radical ends. They can't call our troops baby killers now. That's not popular. Why do that? I mean, it's not popular even in their circles. Why do that when you can have others, say it for you? Have you seen these photos released? This one's by Rolling Stone from the American kill squads. They're horrifying. There's a video of 2 Afghan civilians riding motorcycles being shot and killed. Horrifying. These soldiers were allegedly keeping the body parts as trophies. Okay, these guys are beyond scumbags that need to be punished. They're psychos, okay? But there are 5 accused of murdering innocent civilians. 5. There are hundreds of thousands of soldiers. Yet the headlines all say the same thing. Kill team. Thousands of pictures, leaving the impression that all of our troops are killers. Well, that's simply not the truth. But the problem isn't really with Rolling Stone magazine. The problem is that this came out at the same time we're going into Libya. At least Der Spiegel came out. When did this one come out? Oh, 3/29. Isn't that weird? What an amazing timing. isn't it? You know, here's a couple of questions. Who's releasing these photos? Where are these pictures coming from? First batch of pictures came from Germany's Der Spiegel magazine. Latest batch, Rolling Stone. Published 17 of the pictures. Timing bothers me. The Army allegedly learned about the photos as early as last May. In June, the Army announced one of the soldiers was facing murder charges. Then in October, it said this soldier would be court-martialed. Last Monday, Der Spiegel ran the photos. That is so weird. You want a Pulitzer Prize? Hey, journalists, here's a Pulitzer Prize. Find out who despises our soldiers so much that they felt they needed to release these propaganda gold mines to the press at this particular time, so that 5 murderous scumbags can ruin the decent image of the rest of the 99.9% of American troops. This has put our troops in danger and made it harder for our troops in the Middle East. And the president stands behind France and England, doesn't want to cause any trouble with that. That's why he didn't take the lead. And then he announces in his first press conference that we're taking charge. And then he announces that we're going to give it over to NATO. And then this morning, no, we haven't decided. White House hasn't decided whether we're going to arm the rebels. And yet the press is saying that those rebels are the same ones our soldiers were fighting over in Afghanistan and in Iraq. Isn't this weird? I wonder if anyone in the press would look into that. I wonder if they're up to the challenge, huh? No. Back in a minute. America, our theme today has been, the Mideast is set on fire, and we showed you all these different things. And I told you that I take a stand with Israel, and I want you to know that I take a stand with Israel. I've made an accounting of who I am and what I believe in, and I'm a guy. I'm lucky enough, believe it or not, I say this, I'm lucky enough to be a guy who's lost everything before. So I don't care. The only thing I don't want to lose is my soul. Because I lost my word and integrity and everything else. I've already lost that once. So I don't care. You take everything away from me. It doesn't matter to me. You have to do what you feel is the right thing, because the times call for it. We showed you some video yesterday, and I want you to go to glennbeck.com and see this video and this report, amazing report, on the 12th Imam, and how the 12th Imam is, they're teaching their kids, and they're believe it or not, they're subjects, I guess, in Iran, that Ahmadinejad is the guy who's been authorized to bring back the 12th Imam. Well, that means that he's got to set the world on fire and wash it with blood. We're going to do a special on this on Friday, or I think it's on Thursday. Tiffany, is it Thursday? You've got to see this. It's not good. So when you have everybody going for chaos and the world is in chaos, where do you go from here? What do? You go to these, which is what we told you, when? A year and a half ago. It's faith, hope, and charity. I mean, you've got to look at faith, hope, and charity and realize that this is truly the answer. Truly the answer. What's the guy's name, that Quran guy, the preacher that was going to burn the Quran? I remember when I was on vacation, and that guy was out there, and he was going to burn the Quran, and I'm on vacation, and what happens? The Pakistani ambassador says, "Hey, where's Glenn Beck's stand on this?" You got to tell him. What? You're kidding me. Where does Glenn Beck stand on this? I was actually fishing. I got out of the boat and I started walking back to the house, And I'm thinking, where does Glenn Beck stand on this? How does the Pakistani ambassador even know who I am? And then I realized, wait a minute, who the hell do I think I am that I would get out of a fishing boat and go try to release a statement? I don't care who he thinks I am. I know who I am, and I'm not a guy who's making a statement on that. I'm pretty clear on that. Don't burn the Koran. The first time that I met Alveda King, she said to me on the set, she came up to me and she grabbed my hand and she said, I know what you're doing here because my uncle taught that faith, hope, and charity. He taught faith, hope, and love. Faith, hope, and love. Well, that ain't burning the Koran. When I saw Christians in front of the White House shouting at the man praying to Allah, who prays there every day, I thought, what are we doing? Terry Jones was there. Terry Jones. He's the guy burning the Koran. Don't hate. Love and pray. Well, apparently Terry Jones did wind up burning the Koran after some sort of mock trial and finding the Koran guilty of crimes. All Americans, left and right, should find this to be ridiculous. A book kills people. That's as ridiculous as saying that guns kill people. No, no, no. People kill people, not guns and not books. I guess we have a video of this guy, but I'm not going to play it for you tonight. I don't take this guy seriously, and you shouldn't either. He's all about giving him attention. We're not going to give him any. I just want to make this point. This is the answer. And it comes from within inside. If I'm not mistaken, Christianity teaches us that Jesus came, you had to set father against son and vice versa and set things on fire, but he didn't do it with matches. He did it with truth and love. The Koran guy who burned the book, he did it with matches. Now, he tried to do something symbolic. Well, somebody else chose to do a symbolic ritual of their own. Except they didn't use a book, they used people. According to Asia News, on March 25th, a mob of Islamic extremists attacked a Pentecostal church in India, killing 2 Christians and burning some of the copies of the Bible. Eyewitnesses say the fundamentalists stormed the place of worship looking to set it on fire. But a group of believers defended the church. Security forces have fled the scene, leaving those present at the mercy of the crowd. And in that crowd, there is no mercy. Which side do you stand on, America? The attackers hurled anti-Christian slogans, and a feeling of anger towards the religious minority has spread all over the Middle East. In the city, the pastor of the church reports that despite the condemnation of the burning of the Koran, the community has come under attack because they think we're linked to the American church. Hatred is not good. I have to tell you, I have a hard time sometimes watching speeches or watching things, and I think, because I really truly believe somebody is destroying my country, it is very hard for me not to say, I hate that guy or I hate that woman. But I don't. And I will be condemned just as much as anyone else if that's what I say and believe and feel. It is natural to be angry. It is natural when somebody is abusing to feel that way. We must not. We must rise above it. The only thing we can control, we cannot control our situation, we cannot control our world, we can't control anything. Geez, I can't control my dog, let alone my children. The only thing I can control is our action and reaction. Acts of violence are personal. This guy who's doing the Koran burning, he's not responsible for the crazy people, but he is responsible for his own actions. All of us are responsible for that. And the choices that we make, even if that choice is to sit by silently and say nothing, it's only going to get harder from here. And we will be held in a higher court. And that's really the only one I'm worried about. I guess I bring this to you tonight because I think things are getting spookier in the Middle East, quite honestly. I can't believe I'm saying that, but that's it. And the solution is behind me and in front of you. Love, faith, hope, charity. I want to talk to you a little bit here about now our financial house and getting it in order. How much more debt can a government take on before it really gets into trouble? The economists at the IMF have taken a shot at looking at this. They've calculated how much more debt each country could take on before reaching its limit. There are countries that can't handle anymore. There are 5 of them that are already maxed out. Let me show them to you. It's Japan, Greece, Portugal, Italy, and Iceland. And Japan, of course, makes sense because look how much money they're going to spend. Unfortunately, this was all calculated before Japan's tsunami happened. So what does that mean now? Why didn't anyone, why is it that nobody really talked about the debt tsunami? All they talked about was the nukes. And by the way, in an unrelated story, did you see that Angela Merkel lost that re-election vote? Yeah, they said the whole thing turned on the Japanese nukes. Anyway, so these are the countries. But now, what about our country? We've already got, what, $14 trillion in debt? According to the IMF, the U.S. can add debt equal to 51% of the GDP before reaching its limit. So what is that, about $7 trillion? We can spend that by Christmas. We're getting there, gang. So what do we do now? Well, the Wall Street Journal has offered possible solutions, and you're going to love these solutions. Countries that have their own currencies, such as the U.S. and U.K., can devalue their debts through inflation, print more money. Wait a minute, they tried that in Germany, I think, and Zimbabwe. Or governments can require or persuade banks and pension funds and other institutions to force them to buy low-yielding government debt, treasury bonds. But the government has also a new idea to help you out. Oh, wait for it. Oh, wait for it. You're going to love this. A new idea on what the government has cooked up to get us out of this mess. Next. Alrighty then. So the government is saying, hey, we've got some suggestions for you. There's a couple things we can do to get us out of debt. We could, A, inflate the money supply. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. 2, force people to buy T-bills. Right. Neither of those sound like a good idea. We could cut our spending. No. Now, remember this. Cash for clunkers. It failed. That's where we gave cash for cars. Then cash for caulkers. That's where we gave cash for refrigerators, and that failed. Now they're proposing, this is Sheila Baer's idea. She's at the FDIC. Sheila, I've heard stories. You're quite the thinker. Cash for keys, where you turn in your house keys. So we've gone up from cars to houses. It would essentially pay delinquent borrowers up to $21,000 as an incentive to get out of their home. That is fantastic. That is great. Now, here's the problem. See, because we're trying to do this, inflate the money supply or force people to buy. The problem with all 3 of these is this is going to fail too. And what's it going to do? It's going to give people cash. This is the problem. If the government starts understanding that they don't have cash, maybe we could not worry so much about our debt. Maybe we could also cut back on favoritism for Obama's most loyal contributors, because that's not working out real well either. GE has built the system to the extent that they paid no income tax at all last year. That's right. They made a profit of $14.2 billion. Didn't pay a penny. They got TARP money and everything. That's weird. Good to be Obama's friend, huh? I'm just thinking out loud. Cash for clunkers, cash for caulkers, cash for keys. What do you think? Cash for crooks. Just think about it. From New York, good night, America.